I know one team, particularly here in Las Vegas where I'm sitting, the folks are just going absolutely crazy with this Jimmy Garoppolo news. The report came out earlier last week that he had another surgery on his foot right after signing with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now more has come out about the injury waiver and the contract, and how if the Raiders wanted to, could get off the contract without really any repercussions if there's something that comes up with the foot. I believe it's the second metatarsal, to give a doctor term, in that left foot for Jimmy Garoppolo. What exactly is going on? And can you set the record straight here? Because people are freaking out about, is he going to be our quarterback? What are we going to do at QB if we don't have Garoppolo to start the season?
I think a lot of the time stories get manipulated by people that don't understand the National Football League or have never worked in the National Football League. And so they take a story and they blow it out of proportion. You know, I'm not anyone special, but I spent 35 years in the National Football League. I did a lot of contracts. And I would say in 70% of those contracts that I did, there was an injury waiver of some sort, especially on a veteran player. Why is that? Because when you're a player in the league, you certainly have conditions that have magnified themselves over the time. And so when you come in for a physical, like Jimmy Garoppolo comes into Las Vegas for a physical, everybody's expecting a press conference, right? Okay, yep. He took his physical. They saw that the second metatarsal wasn't healing properly on its own. So now they got a problem. How do we handle this problem? If we assume the liability of this injury, then we can't do that. We can't put our owner in that position, and the agent knows that. And so the goal is to get it fixed correctly. But the secondary goal is to make sure the team's protected in case something catastrophic happens. This is like insurance. This is like buying insurance. You hope you never need to use it, but if it's there, it's there. And so, to me, what they decided was, and this is why it took a little bit of time to get that press conference going, was because they said, okay, what's our course of action? What are we going to do? We're going to repair this. We're going to put a screw in it so it never happens again. The agent is amicable to agreeing to sign an injury waiver, which is very common in 1,000 contracts. Very common. Very common. They signed an injury waiver on the specific injury. Does this mean if he breaks his arm, they could cut him? No. It's only specifically around the second metatarsal. This is very common, okay? I keep repeating this. All right, yep. So now they know that's what they want to do, and now they plan the course of action. Okay, we're going to have the operation done. You're going to be in a boot. You're going to be in the building. Boom, 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 and we move forward. And I think anybody who makes more of that than what it really is doesn't understand the National Football League. Garoppolo is expected to be their quarterback, and unless something catastrophic happens with his foot, he will be the quarterback. And all this conversation that we're having in May on Memorial Day will be looked at as, oh, that was just for clicks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the desert time of the content sphere for the NFL. So it wouldn't be surprising for somebody to blow something out of proportion just to get something like this. And I'm not accusing anybody of being nefarious in doing it, but it happens in this time of the offseason. I do think the reason why this in particular, though, has blown up to what it is right now, at least on the outside. On the inside, it's probably just, hey, business as usual. But on the outside, it has blown up because of Garoppolo's history with injuries. Don't you think that kind of also is factoring in as well? Because people say, oh, my gosh, they have this injury waiver for a guy who has trouble playing a full season.
Well, I think that's two separate issues. The waiver is only on the second metatarsal. The fact if Garoppolo could get hurt is a concern for everyone who's a fan of Garoppolo beyond the second metatarsal. That's when you signed him, you said to yourself, I'm worried about him getting hurt. I mean, you're holding your breath because you know durability isn't one of his strengths. Those are two separate issues. This is a waiver on his second metatarsal. That will heal. They put a screw in it, that will heal. Now, can he stay healthy somewhere else? That's a concern. That's always what you're going to be concerned about as a Raider fan. But to me, you're trying to lump 2 and 2 together and get 4 when they're two separate issues. And again, I'm not defending the Raiders because my sons work there. I'm defending what typically happens in the National Football League. Waivers are very commonplace. They're on a lot of injury, especially when it's an injury that you don't want to accept, that's not healed. So you don't want to take it out. You can't put your owner in that position. And so the waiver language is often tailored around one specific injury. Now, if he were to break his fifth metatarsal, it may not apply. And that's usually what happens when you get into grievances. Sometimes when you have waivers on players, you specifically cite this part of the body, and then he hurts something similar around it, and the club says, no, we have a waiver on that, and the player says, no, that's just for this, and then you got to go to a grievance. That's the problem. So, look, the fact is Brady's lingering out there, right? Brady's part owner of the team now, and everybody thinks Brady could come back. And I think people don't understand that Brady, is still involved in trying to get his life in order with his children in Miami. It's the reason he's not doing Fox. He's got to be home 2 weeks out of every month, and it's important to him. I mean, I know the Brady stories. Every injury that occurs, it's going to come back to Brady. I mean, look, we're still talking about bringing Phillip Rivers back last year.
Yeah, and he's a high school football coach. Hopefully he's doing well.
Right, and Andrew Luck. I mean, Washington made a phone call on Andrew Luck that created a stir about tampering, which obviously the league said it didn't happen. Who knows what the league investigated? I mean, I'm sure they're part of the Warren Commission too, but that group there. But I think, to me, every time there's a guy out there doesn't mean he's coming back. If you're a Raider fan, stop worrying about the foot. Worry about Garoppolo staying healthy. That's your concern.
Do you think that they would, at some point this offseason, go back and tweak the finances of the contract? Because I know there was they added that language in there and all that. But you think everything is good with
they negotiated it. They did this. You're looking at it through today's lens. This was already done 4 months ago. It just happened to break today. And so you're looking at it through this is just current news. This is old news. This is old news that's being hashed up. They negotiated this. They both agreed, Don Yee and his Garoppolo's agent and the Raiders agreed this was the best course of action. And it all happened because he couldn't pass the physical. So they came up with they came up. And the part that makes it really understandable, nobody's trying to screw the other party. Mm-hmm. They're working together to get to a common goal, which is to get him on the field and to play.
Well, we'll see if he can get on the field. I mean, everything sounds like it's still on track for training camp, right? For Jimmy Garoppolo, we should see him once training camp opens as the quarterback. Okay.
That's why they put the plan together back when they signed him. They understood what it is, and he'll move forward. And so, we look at things through a lens of the present, and we go back, and it's like we have all the information. Nobody who's reporting this has ever seen any of the medical. They just see the waiver. If you understand the medical, you'll understand what they're doing.
All right. And as long as they're working together like they are right now, it's probably a nothing burger that on Memorial Day weekend we blow up out of proportion because it's Jimmy Garoppolo, and also there's the chance that something crazy could happen. But it doesn't sound like anything is going to be happening here with the Raiders. Raiders fans, take a deep sigh of relief. Garoppolo will be your quarterback moving forward here to start the NFL regular season.